All right, I think I got 30 seconds before my Ring camera tells me that I'm being recorded. All right, hey guys, what's up? It's Serena from Thrift Diving. I am back. I'm sorry, I have been like working on my power tools course and I have just been incognito, kind of behind the camera. And so today I'm going to be talking to you about some of my favorite projects. These are things that I've done over the years that either were an upholstery project that recycled, upcycled something from the thrift store, or maybe it cuts down on your electric bill. Today is Earth Day and I wanted to honor that. And I also wanted to introduce you to Penelope. This is my persimmons tree that has been steadily growing. She's taller than I am for the last few years. No fruit yet, but crossing my fingers. Let's jump into these projects now because these are some of my favorite and I think you're going to be inspired. Let's do it. Now I gotta know, is this a TV stand or is it a microwave stand? Because when I originally posted this $7 stand from the thrift store, everybody's like, oh, that's a TV stand. And I was like, maybe it's a microwave stand. Anyway, if you have lived in the 70s or 80s, you probably had one of these in your home. It was disgusting, but these are my favorite kind of projects because these are the ones that most people walk on by. They don't see the beauty. There is something called Metal Rescue. I think that's what I used for this. And look at this rust that it removed. It removed all of that. So what started as something that most people just walked on past at the thrift store, I actually saw the beauty in it and was able to salvage this. So when you're thinking about projects that you want to do, look for the things that most people are walking past because you can remove the rust, you can cut new pieces of wood to make new shelves, and you can spray beautiful paper and just adhere it and make something really great. I will tell you one thing that I would do differently for this project is that I probably would have tried to do a tempered glass on top of this and not just a regular piece of glass. But there is a really expensive cost to tempered glass. I remember when I did this project, I researched tempered glass and it was like, okay, why would I pay like an exorbitant amount of money for this? But it is much more shatter resistant than regular glass. And so just keep that in mind whenever you're doing projects. If you are going to be replacing glass, tempered glass is very expensive. Now, if you're a Gen Xer like me, you either had furniture like this or you had a best friend who had furniture like this. This is something that I did for my mother-in-law and she still uses this dresser to this day. I think it's probably been about 6 or 7 years, but this was one of my favorite projects because you know, a dresser like this, a lot of times people will just walk on by because it just looks old, it looks outdated. But again, people like us, we see the value in this. You'll see here that I'm painting it with one of my favorite products, which is Beyond Paint. I've done a lot of sponsored stuff with them, but this is the paint that I actually recommend newbies to use because you can just use a roller, you can use a paintbrush to get into all those little cracks and crevices. And when it's done, you don't necessarily have to put a top coat on it. I think if you want more protection, you probably should. Do 2 coats and that's it. There's no sanding, there's no priming. You did see that I did a little bit of surface imperfection repair in the very beginning of this project, but sometimes you have to do that. For the most part, you're not sanding or priming, but just make sure that you are using a top coat by Beyond Paint if you are going to be putting things on top of this dresser. But yeah, this is one of my favorite projects. It just turned out so cute. My mother-in-law loved it. Look at all that space. I need me a dresser with 9 drawers. Now this next project is my most creative. I turned a toddler bed into a gardening bench only because I turned it upside down. Like I turned it on its side or on its head and decided if I build a base for it, I could actually get it taller and then I can add a couple of cool things to it and just repurpose this into something else. And I think a lot of times people don't think they're creative. They think other people just have all these amazing ideas. And I don't think that's what it is. I really think it's a matter of asking yourself the right questions, turning things in different directions and saying, what does this remind me of? And when I turned that toddler bed on its head, I was like, whoa, if I build a platform for this and then attach it and then paint it, this looks like a gardening bench. And that's what I did. I didn't get the idea just, I don't know. I mean, it kind of came to me, but I think if you're looking at something in a different way, when you're just kind of manipulating it, you get a lot of ideas. And that's what came to me. So you see that I'm painting this all one color. And then I did a couple of other things. I added some stencils. I added a little towel bar, put a couple pieces of cedar on the top, and then just, put the garden sign there, put a little shelf on top. and it turned out so cute. Now, this didn't last. It did hold up for probably about 4 years, and then the weather just sort of, deteriorated it. So eventually I had to scrap it. But I mean, look at that. That's so cute, right? For this next project, I took ceiling fan glass lampshades and turned them into candle holders. I built a base for them and used my hole saw, which I love. This is the attachment that is like perfect when you're drilling bigger holes and you just need it to be perfect. So if you want to learn how to use power tools like this miter saw, you can join my Empower Tools 101 online course. Right now, you can go down below thriftdiving.com/tools, and I'll show you how to do all this stuff. But for this, I just needed to build a very simple base. I used a nail gun, some wood glue, and just created this very simple base. And things like this at the thrift store are a dime a dozen. You can find a lot of these ceiling fan lights. So if you want to make your own candle holder, it's not hard to do. The only thing I would recommend is to make sure that you have a way to catch the wax, or you know what, maybe not even use wax candles. Maybe just put some that are battery operated inside of them. But you want to make sure they don't actually fall through. So that's why you see me putting a piece of wood down below and then just putting some rope there just to kind of cover those holes. But overall, it turned out great. And with some stenciling and paint, you can get really creative with this project. I love this next project. These were some metal cabinets that I just happened to find in an online auction. There was a high school that was just getting rid of everything. I mean, literally everything. And I think it was a high school that was going to be demolitioned, and they just needed to get rid of everything that could be sold. And I found these and I'm like, yeah, I'll take them. So I think they were maybe about $40 each. And I knew I was going to have to do three things, clean them because they were filthy. But I was also going to have to remove the rust, and I was going to have to fill some of the holes that were on there. I was going to strip them, but I was like, that's just too much. I'm just going to do the rust remover and then paint them. Now for this project, I did use a Rust-Oleum rust remover. I thought it worked. You see that it's removing the rust, but you had to remove it pretty quickly. Unlike the other one that you could leave it on and cover it up with plastic. This one you couldn't do. So just make sure you're reading the instructions if you are removing rust from metal. So I did some primer. I filled the holes. This was sort of a putty that you would use for like an auto body repair, which was tough to use. And then I painted them. But then I realized, wait, I don't want that kind of shade. I want something brighter, like a nice bright pink. So these are in my she shed and I use them. And then I wanted to do some of the rifle paper on the inside of the drawers. And so they're just super girly. I know it's not for everyone, but I'm like a tomboy that's really girly on the inside. So they were perfect for me and people love them. And I just use it for additional storage here in my she shed. I think I want to call this wingback chair the chair from hell. This was a chair that I found at the thrift store for like $60, and it sat in my garage for 3 to 4 to 5 years. So I had gone to an upholstery course, and it was only supposed to be 6 sessions. So I went there and followed the instructions. The guy was great, and he kept trying to tell me, Serena, I don't think you want to strip this down to the bare bones. I think you should just remove the fabric and just put on some new fabric. And I was like, no, that's not good enough. I just want to strip it down to the bare bones. Well, by the end of 6 classes, I was not done. So I had to sign up for another 6 classes, and I recorded everything in this 10-part series on how to reupholster a wingback chair. When I got down to the bare bones, I was like, why did I decide to do this? But I documented it, and so many people over the years have been like, this was what I needed, because I was able to watch you do this. I was able to figure it out on my own. But it's very complicated. He did teach me how to insert the springs into the new chair, the quote unquote new chair. And this was not an easy process. Even as I'm watching this again, I don't remember how to do this because it's been so many years. But I'm glad that I recorded this because I've got the tutorial. You've got it. I've got it. So that if you're at the thrift store and you see a chair that looks like it's pretty solid, but you just don't like the fabric, you don't know what's inside the chair, you kind of just want to start all the way over, you can do that with this video series. So I'm glad that I recorded it. But it also did teach me that, I don't think I need to do big projects like this down to the studs. But it was a good lesson to learn. Now, The fabric was amazing. The sewing was fun. I enjoyed the project. And you might be wondering, well, what did you ever do with the chair? I still have it sitting in my basement. I don't really have a place for it because I have so much furniture already that I just didn't know where to put it. So I may decide to end up selling it. I've been selling a lot of things lately on Facebook Marketplace, which has been great for just bringing in some extra money. And I think if there's somebody that loves this chair, they're going to want to pay money for it. I put a lot of time into it. I probably am not even making anything on it in terms of profit. But for me, it was a great learning experience. So I would recommend look at your local fabric store, see if there's some upholstery courses and join them. And I guarantee you will never look at another knife block in the exact same way, because in this next project, I went to the thrift store and found an old knife block and turned it into a crayon holder. There was something about the slant of that wood that just spoke to me. And I was like, well, what if I just drilled holes on the top and then put some washi tape to kind of cover up all the slats and then just turned it into like a little craft station for my kids? But what's really interesting is that Better Homes and Gardens, their website picked this up and it started to go viral. And next thing you know, there were people that were copying it, and there were people who were coming up with even better ideas. And they're like, oh, I'm using this for my makeup brushes. Oh, I'm doing this for whatever. And it was just so cool that people took one of my ideas and started coming up with their own ideas on how to just use, knife blocks from the thrift store. They're not in the trash pile. People are actually using these things. So I just thought that was super cool. It was very cute. One of my favorite projects. This next project is kind of morbid because it looked like a coffin, but it had this amazing oak that I knew that once you just stripped it all away, it was going to look amazing. And I wanted to do something different. I wanted to use a wood dye, not a wood pigment, not like something that you would just get from Home Depot or Lowe's. I wanted to use a wood dye. Here's the difference. Wood dye actually soaks into the wood. Whereas if you're using like a wood stain, it's got pigment and it'll sit on top of the wood. So getting it down to its natural raw oak, that was important. Then I think I did like, like a wood conditioner or something like that. But here's the thing, the dye was amazing. It's ebony, but it needed probably about 2 or 3 coats to really get that dark color that I wanted, because it will soak in. But because I was going to be using liming wax, I didn't want any pigments from like a regular traditional stain to settle into that grain. I just wanted it to soak in. I wanted the dye to soak into the wood. And then I did a nice top coat just to kind of seal it all in. But look at this liming wax. When you put this stuff on and then you buff it off with like a clear wax, it settles into the grain and just looks amazing. And the reason I wanted to show you this is because if you have an oak table or some sort of oak furniture around your house, or you're at the thrift store or roadside and you see something that has a grain like this, do not walk away. I'm telling you, look how amazing this is. Now this looks like a coffin, yes, but oh my gosh, it would look so great on a table. And rub and buff. It started with like gold hardware, but if you use rub and buff, you can totally change the hardware. And then here, I got a little creative and put my initials on there and glued it and all that good stuff and nailed it. Yes, it still looked like a coffin, but the main thing is that I wanted to show you is that you can create this amazing texture if you've got some oak around your home or at the thrift store. You have to do the oak. It's so good. I tell you, try this with oak and you will never paint oak again. And I have a confession. I think all of the lamps in my house, except for maybe one, no, they've all come from the thrift store. And they all have custom lampshades with like pretty paper or something. It's so easy. And I think it's a really good project, especially if you're a newbie and you're just getting started with doing DIY. Go to the thrift store, get a lamp, spray paint it, and then use my videos in order to make your own custom lampshade. Now the lampshade, you can use something that comes from the thrift store, but here's the thing. If you're just trying to put fabric or paper onto a lampshade, it's hard to do because of its shape. But if you see what I'm doing, and I'm not going to walk you through exactly how to do it, you can watch the videos. You can create your own pattern using the lampshade, and then you can cut out the paper, or the fabric or whatever it is that you're trying to use in order to make that lampshade cover. So for me, I love rifle paper. You've seen 3 projects now where I'm using rifle paper, but I did this on a lampshade. You are going to need some spray adhesive because that's the only way you're going to be able to get it on. And it is tough to do because you can get some wrinkles and all of that. Take your time and make sure that you're accounting for seam allowances. But it's so cute when you're done, right? Like you've got a custom lamp. So look at the videos of all these projects if you want more details on how to do it. You can add trim, but yeah, lampshades, don't buy lampshades. Just use the ones from the thrift store. I know this shape can be kind of outdated, but if it comes with the lamp and you can get it for like $5, $6, you've got a whole new lamp in your home with a custom shade. How cool is that? This next project isn't something from the thrift store, but I think it's important for Earth Day because it does have sunblock fabric in it. So it keeps the temperatures down here in my she shed. And remember, I took just roller shades from Walmart. They were $10. Took some hardware that I bought separately and then just made my own shades. A lot of people ask me, hey, do I have to use sunblock fabric or can I just use the plastic shade that I pulled off of the original roller blind? Yes, you can use the original shade. You don't have to use sunblock fabric. It does keep your costs lower and you could probably just spray it on. Now here I'm actually sewing it in. I have a sewing machine. I like to sew and I did that with mine. But you really could just use spray adhesive, spray the back of your fabric, lay the original plastic, vinyl that you pulled off onto your fabric and just be very careful that there's no bubbles or anything like that. And another question that I get from people is, do I have to roll it in that particular direction or can I roll it in the other direction? So you see the way that I'm rolling it here, when I go to put it up, I can see the white part from the lining facing me from the inside of my shed. That's okay. I can do it this way. If you want to do it the other way, it just means you have to roll it in the other direction. Either way is totally fine. The main thing is just making sure that it goes up and down and that you set the tension bar properly. Otherwise, it will just sort of flip around on you. But I will tell you that since I've made these, they have held up really, really well. And one compliment that I usually get from people who don't realize when they see them in the background, they'll say, oh, wow, your artwork looks so pretty. And I'm like, that's actually my roller blinds. They can't tell when it's closed that it's actually a window. So it just adds a different element to your home and to your space. And it's very easy to make. And I love them and they keep the sun out during the day. So I hope you enjoyed those projects. Be sure to come back because I'm always doing things here at Thrift Diving, sometimes behind the scenes. Sometimes you see them, sometimes you don't. But just know that I'm always working on something. And if you have not had a chance, please go down below and check out my podcast. Do you know that I have a podcast? Because I don't really advertise it that much, but I do have a podcast. I have a blog, so there's projects that you can get step-by-step written instructions and you don't want to miss that. You can find the links to all these projects I talked about today down below in the description. I will see you next project and be sure to go to thriftdiving.com/tools if you want to join my Power Tools course because I am actually working on that. People keep emailing me. They're like, did I miss it? I'm like, no, you didn't miss it. I'm just kind of slow. It's just me. Because they are things that I kept out of the thrift store, things that I upcycled, and things that actually cut down on your electric bill. Well, maybe one thing. But hey, have you ever met Penelope?
You are currently being recorded.
I knew it. Yes, I know I'm being recorded because I installed you. So why are you messing up my video? Ring camera. Oh, God, the nerve.